Chris, you anchor the morning news here at CBS and then again the news at noon. But I want to start with the morning portion of your day.
Yeah, you saw that look on my face when you said morning news here. It's almost middle of the night news.
Absolutely.
It's a grueling schedule, but if I didn't love the job so much, it would really be a problem. But it's, you know, the alarm goes off at 2:30 in the morning, and no, I don't care who you talk to, no one gets used to that because it's still the middle of the night for most people. So 2:30, that thing goes off. I pop out of bed. I mean, I pop up like toast. It's like I'm fire alarms are going off, and then hop right in the shower. I get to the office at about 3:45. We are on the air at 4:30, from 4:30 to 7 o'clock on CBS, and we do another hour of news watches. So it's a constant cycle, but it's early, but at least I love it.
I'm glad you love it, but I'm going to tell you one of these nights, because I usually go to bed around 2:30 after watching West Coast baseball games and all that, going on the internet for one last check. I'm going to send you a text at about 2:35.
Do that. Yeah. Because
Chris, are you up?
Basically, you know what? Instead of going to the internet myself, I can now just kind of text you and say, who won last night? Because I go to bed at about 8:30 every night, so I don't see anything. And for me personally, as a devout Giant fan, when I see the schedule come out and I see all these Sunday night games and then a Monday night game, I'm just like, you're killing me. You're killing me. So,
but what's interesting about what you just said when you described your job, as you said, you love it. So I'm sure if they told you you had to get 2 hours of sleep or you had to work 24 hours straight, you love what you do so much that I'm sure the passion gets the adrenaline going.
Especially when there is breaking news or big events happen, sleep becomes secondary because the adrenaline has you moving at such a pace. Superstorm Sandy, for instance, is a perfect example. I was on the road for about 4 days straight where I didn't see my apartment. I barely even got back to the island here because we were in Jersey for landfall and then we were in Staten Island. We were just all over the place. So at that point, you know, some of the essentials like bathing and sleep and even eating, to be honest with you. You grab a granola bar here and there and you just kind of immersed in the story. Everybody else is suffering. You're covering it. So, you know, stopping for dinner or getting 8 hours of sleep is not going to happen.
You've got a lot of acclaim for your coverage. You use the Mobile 2 unit, which I know is a very advanced technology within your SUV. But it was also a story that hit home for you because you're a Jersey guy, and I've seen you quoted as saying you knew those streets, you knew that house, you knew that landmark.
I grew up down there, and one of the interesting parts about it, 2 straight years, whether it was Irene, which was the year before, and then Sandy, so many people that I grew up with in that area knew that I was in that Mobile 2 unit. And they had all been evacuated. They were calling, can you stop by the house? Can you stop? I mean, I literally request after request from people that I knew asking if I could stop by their homes just to make sure everything was okay. Would have loved to have done it, but I had to work. But when you grow up in that area and you have a familiarity not only with the towns and the different hamlets, but the roads, makes it a lot easier when you're driving this vehicle around. And then to see the destruction was just, it was unbelievable. I mean, I've been to bigger disaster scenes before, but because of the nature of this, hitting so close to home, it was definitely more devastating on that front.
How do you balance being a reporter and a journalist delivering the news at that point, but the personal side of it? As you just said, you have friends calling you worried about their house. Yeah. You've got to go on the air in a few minutes and give a live report and give the update. Where's the balance there?
It's basically job comes first, and I think it allows you to tell the story in a different way if there's an emotional connection. So I would never tell people, you know, leave the emotions on the side or don't let it affect you, because you can't do that. It all kind of becomes, it gets kind of mixed up in that cocktail of how are you gonna present this story to the audience. And I think the audience can tell if it's something that you've got a vested interest in or if it's just something you're fronting. So I think that definitely helps to be able to have intimate knowledge of what's going on, where it's happening, like that, I think only added to our ability to broadcast that, the devastation in the days after that storm.
So I know your career well, and I know your resume. I know all the things you've done. Here comes a hard-hitting question. Yeah. Are you a news guy or a sports guy?
I'm a news guy now.
You're a news guy now.
I love sports, but I'm definitely a news guy now. That was such a great period of my life, and I do. Even as a news anchor now, I owe everything that I have to my days as not only an athlete in high school and college, but also.
By the way, I just want to cut you off. I want to give Mawa High School a little pub here, because I have a nephew who graduated from there and a nephew who's there now. So if I didn't give Mawa High School a little pop here, so
T-Bird Country, we trumpet T-Bird Country big time on this broadcast here, because John Elliott, our meteorologist in the morning, always has Mawa on the map, and it's funny. I'm still, my best friends are both still from Mawa, so I have and my family's home is still there, so I have a deep connection. back to the school. And everybody who's coaching there, and even the guy who coached me, Ed Caparelli, was still an assistant up until a year ago.
Wow.
So it's such a great town up there. But I'm so proud of them. And they had a great year this year. They were 11-0 in the regular season. Playoffs kind of hit them a little hard. But
they won a baseball state championship a couple of years ago. My nephew was on that team.
Is that right? Well,
absolutely.
The last state championship that the baseball team had won when I was the captain back in 1988.
Look at that segue.
I still actually, I don't want to, since we're talking about resumes, I still do hold the school record for RBIs in a season. So.
Excellent. Go T-Birds is right. Now,
I love those days.
What about New Hampshire? You go to New Hampshire to play football.
Got a football scholarship
wide
to UNH.
receiver.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was great. Chip Kelly, who's the head coach of the Eagles right now, was basically my coach my freshman year there, and then he left. But it's such a great coaching carousel, to be honest with you, and a lot of. I look back on it now. A lot of the things that we were introduced to when I was there, because we were a real kind of this wild card type of passing offense, and I got there, and it had traditionally been a running back oriented offense, I set and things like that. And all of a sudden we had this offensive coordinator, this guy Gary Croton, who he's throwing out 5 receivers and trips, aces, all this stuff. You got picks being set and guys running everywhere. Well, that ended up being the offense that you're seeing across the board in the NFLs right now. He ended up going on to be the offensive coordinator of the Bears. He was the head coach at BYU. He took over LSU's program for the last couple. I mean, it was just incredible to see kind of the birth of that way back then in the late '80s, and now to see it just so prevalent in the NFL now.
You obviously have a passion for sports, but I think when you talk football, it comes out even more. You attend your first Giants game when you're 6 years old. I remember rubbing elbows with you in the press box at Yankee games, and you would even talk about the Giants then. And you once told me that covering sports, it was starting to eat away at your fandom, and that was bothering you a little bit. You wanted to just be a fan of the Giants.
When I came back to New York, those first couple of years, the year I came back was the year that Eli was drafted, and was when Tom started, and we know how abrasive Coach Coughlin can be with the media, and it became tough, to be very honest with you. It really became difficult, and I said, for a person who grew up here in East Rutherford, who has been going to these games since 1976, since the stadium opened, and this person, to be quite honest with you, it came down to this. My family, we had paid a lot of money to go to these games for a lot of years. Not that I would ever use that, but I'm like, Tom, if I ask you a question, please don't give me that, like I don't know what I'm talking about type stuff. I mean, when I was younger, not only did my dad introduce me to this team, and that was what that bond that I had with my dad of always going to these games, having grown up in Rutherford. When I was in high school, I was a trainer at Quest, which was this big health club on Route 17. So, Sims was working out at the time, Joe Morris, all these guys were there. So in the summer times, I'm catching passes with Phil out on the field as he's keeping his arm in shape, getting under punts for Dave Jennings. I mean, it was, I'm spotting Joe Morris as he's got 800 pounds on his back. I mean, so I had a great connection with these guys, and then it just continued to manifest. And when I talk about the Giants, it's like I'm talking about one of my kids. It sounds crazy. With every interception Eli throws, I feel it. I mean, I do. So you can only imagine what kind of year it was for me.
So you sound like a typical Giants fan, but I have to go back to something. So you caught passes from Phil Simms. Did he ever say anything to you along the lines of, nice catch, or you ran a nice route
these guys
there?
Were great. Well, no, they did it because they knew I was a college football player, and they, of course, at that time, it wasn't like you had, the big Quest diagnostic center right there where you've got all these access. I mean, these guys were still working out at local health clubs back then. I mean, that's what, in the off season, that's what it came down to. So I was just an available body, and I, of course, was just flabbergasted to even do it. So it was just a great time.
You have such a versatile resume. You're almost Emmys, Grammys, Oscars you've covered. You've covered the NBA Finals, the Olympics, the Masters. Of all those things, did you ever have a moment that when you're with your friends and I have to tell you this story? Was there one thing that always stands out as a career moment that gets people to laugh?
Yeah, there was always, the experiences, like you mentioned, there's just so many of them, and there's constantly, if it's somebody's birthday, I'm like, I remember meeting him. But when I was at Entertainment Tonight, it exposed me to a whole different just type of, to be involved in the whole Hollywood scene. It was different than sports. So I did, Jason Patrick, the actor, Jason Patrick. I was doing a set visit out in the Caribbean on this boat, on this big yacht. They're filming Speed 2, Sandra Bullock, and I'm sitting here, and Jason is where you are, and Sandra Bullock is right there, and it's just this beautiful setting. I said, it's just gorgeous out. We're in the Caribbean. We're on this yacht. My first question to him as the cameras are rolling, I said, so, Jason, I'm like, really kind of, just totally one of those softballs to just lighten the mood because he's kind of in a bitchy mood. And I said, Jason, is it difficult to even call this work? You're out here, you're in the Caribbean on this yacht with Sandra Bullock. He stops, he looks at me, he's like, is that your question? I was like, yeah. Takes the mic off, gets up, and walks off. Sandra's looking at me, she's like, sorry. I mean, it was...
Wow.
I was mortified. I was mortified at the time. That's the worst it's ever been.
He never came back either.
Never
came
back.
The interview was over?
I was on a chopper off that yacht the next day on to the next story, and it was just a total bust.
Did you think he was joking around?
No, he wasn't joking around. He was just that big a jerk.
And you didn't try to pull him back because he was gone? Question.
At that point, the publicist is like, we're sorry. He was just, put it this way, the reason Keanu Reeves was not in Speed 2, script wasn't that good, movie wasn't that good. So I think that pretty much answered the question why he was in such a bad mood.
So I follow you on Twitter. You and I are friends on Facebook. And every time I look around, you're making me feel like I'm a couch potato because you're doing triathlons, you're spinning or cycling, you're throwing a football on the beach.
Perception and reality are two totally different
things.
things.
Can you slow down a little bit?
Hey, you got to stay active. Every day I wake up, those first 5 steps when I get out of bed, all I do is limp. So it's like just keeping that blood flowing and trying to stay young.
What do you like to do the most of all of those activities?
If I could throw a football every day, I still would. I mean, that was, not in the Todd Marinovich type of way, but I was really kind of brought up to be a quarterback, and it was an opportunity that I really missed. I tore my rotator cuff my freshman year of college and just was really never able to regroup. It was before surgeries were the way of fixing that type of thing, so it was the wide receiver route. But, yeah, if I could, I would throw a football every day. I can still spin it pretty good for an old guy.
What's the scouting report on you at UNH as a receiver?
I think they would be quick to tell you Chris was the best blocking wide receiver we ever had.
Plaxico Burress without the off-the-field issues?
No, blocking is in. We didn't throw it too much, but we sent him out there for running plays. Yeah, I have a lot of untapped potential. And so I think I still have some eligibility, to be honest with you, because I graduated a year early. So I'm still hoping somebody comes calling.
You're doing a run or you're cycling. You've got to get through those last 5 or 7 minutes. You got the iPod cranked. What song or what band or what type of music do you want to hear to get you through it?
Right now, Swedish House Mafia, a little house music, something big, something big and loud.
All right, that's EDM. Does that fall under the head category of EDM?
It does, to be honest. Maybe Imagine Dragons, anything like that. Just something where I can really kind of move to the beat. It's
tradition at JCTV here. We end every interview. We both
with
open
a smack in the face.
We end every interview with you being Jason Patrick and saying, I'm tired of this interview. We each open a pack of baseball cards right in your wheelhouse, Mr. Yes. I lead Mahwah High School in RBIs. Yeah. And then we debate who got the who got the best card. Yeah. And that person gets to keep both packs.
They still have gum in these things or what?
They do not.
Ooh.
They do not, although I did an interview with Brian Cashman where I had old packs. 24-year-old gum. Off camera, he and I both decided to chew it.
No kidding.
Very dumb.
Oh, I got some good ones.
You got some good ones?
Yeah.
All right. Then you're ahead of me.
I got some good ones here.
Oh, wait. I have a very good one. I'm going to hold this as an ace in the hole. This is so good that it's even thicker than the other cards. So this is a big-time winner.
You got like a gold.
All right. Who's your best?
My best, it looks like Mike Trout.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
all right. Well, here's what we're going to do. Mike Trout versus Robinson Cano. On longevity, I'm giving it to Cano. On what's going to happen in the future, I'm giving it to Trout. But guess what? How about Mr. October?
Oh, wow. See, I can't.
Reggie Jackson, ladies and gentlemen.
My old school card or my classic card in here is only Cole Hamels.
Yeah, I think I win, Chris.
Yeah, you do.
I'm going to have to take my Reggie Jackson card and your Mike Trout card, and I'm going home.
They're all yours, my friend.
You can pull that mic off if you're angry about that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Really good to see you. Really good to see you. Reggie Jackson, where'd you get that? It's cheating. It's cheating.
I never cheat the packs. Everyone thinks I do. I never cheat the packs.